Welcome to The Edge. This is the first episode of the Endure Edge podcast.
The first of many.
And I'm beyond excited. I've been toying with this idea for a while to start a podcast to show our amazing listeners that dreams do come true. And going forward, we're going to drop a podcast once a week. And we're going to have special guests who are going to tell us their journeys, their inspirations, and talk about some of their wisdom and share their wisdom to your listeners. So it's going to be a hell of a ride.
Yeah, I'm excited to be a part of it.
On that note, the gentleman on my left, it is my left, yeah. His name is Henry Koch. He is an advocate for mental health, mental well-being. During COVID, Henry took up a challenge to run comrades in a 15-meter passage, 90 kilometers up and down a 15-meter passage to raise money for his staff, who at that stage could not work and earn money. He raised over 120,000 Rand for them. And if that's not impressive enough, Henry went and broke the record and held the record for a while for the most consecutive half marathons. And while doing that, raised over R1 million. Am I correct, Henry?
Yeah, million.
Raised
1.5.
Raised over 1.5 million Rand for mental health. And that was all donated to the Mental Health Association.
Yeah, SADAG. Yeah, South African Depression and Anxiety Group.
So Henry has also battled with his own mental health problems, like we all have.
Yeah, still do.
And like we all do. And today, especially today, I want to concentrate on men's mental health, because I feel the men out there are scared to talk about this. And I've experienced it, and I'm sure you have too. And I want us to break that stigma on this podcast. And future episodes with the future guests, we're going to bring men's mental health up all the time. It's a crazy stat. Henry, I don't even know. In South Africa, 13,000 people commit suicide in 2024. 13,000 people committed suicide. 10,000 of those are men.
Yeah, I'd say that's about right. It's over 75% of all suicides are men. And it's linked normally to like one of three things. It's like infidelity or financial. Finance is like a monstrous one. Or just unable to talk about it. Like they've got problems and they just can't talk about it. There's no one they feel comfortable talking to. And so they just end it.
That's crazy. I once heard someone say to me, a man will commit suicide, like I say, three things, but for two reasons, either money or women.
Yeah. It's like just talking about SADAG. So prior to COVID, SADAG used to have phone lines and they'd get, I don't know, something like 60 calls a day or whatever, or 200 calls a day, something crazy like that. In COVID, that number went up to over 2,500 calls a day. And it's stayed at that level since COVID. Since like this mental health epidemic, like let's call it an epidemic, started, and more people are aware of it now, it's just like gone through the roof, and the numbers are actually like quite shocking.
Yeah, it is really scary. How did you, tell us your journey to this mental health advocacy that you do, and spreading the word and raising money? There must have been something that triggered that for you.
Yeah. So, it's funny, like my mom always, since school, my mom was always like, because she struggles with her mental health, she struggles with depression, and she sees a psychologist. And whenever I had a bit of an episode or a bit of a meltdown, she'd be like, go see a psychologist. And I never thought much of it, because like seeing a psychologist is just like not a done thing, right? If you're a guy, like seeing a psychologist is like, but in COVID, I was engaged to my fiance, and she broke up with me like the week before COVID started. And I just had this meltdown at home. Like,
sorry.
Went into COVID, was staying with my folks, and I just remember one day my dad asked me like such a simple question. He was like, "How are you?" Right? And like I just cried and cried and cried and cried. And I obviously wasn't fun. And my mom was like, just go and see a psychologist. And I went. And the big change for the psychologist to me was, we were sitting one day and she said, She said, have you thought about taking like anti-anxiety or antidepressants? I said, no, I don't need that stuff. That stuff is rubbish. It's bad for you. She said, cool, I just want to use an analogy. And actually, this analogy will tie in with what we're going to talk about later. She's like, when people go to the gym, right, they use supplements, creatine, whey protein, everything you use to help your body recover, right?
Yeah.
So she's like, well, what's the difference between that and something for your mind? She's like, why, when your mind is struggling, do you not help it to recover by taking things like, or living a healthy lifestyle or this? She's like, you're so worried about your body and doing the right things for your body, but people aren't keen to do the right things for their mind.
And I love that analogy with the whey protein or the creatine with the guys in the gym that help you recover, rehydrate, revive, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Why not take something for your mind that helps your mind?
Yeah, 100%. And it's not just about taking things. It's also just about being mindful, practicing mindfulness, making sure that like the things that aren't good for your mind, you don't perpetuate on an ongoing basis. Stress. I mean, how many of us live life like completely stressed? Stress is like a killer. Stress destroys people, yet people choose to actively put themselves into stressful situations.
Is that not human nature though?
Yeah, it is human nature, but I think that's old human nature. I think that's how it used to be. Like, think about the stereotype of a man 20 years ago, right? As like a provider and like business is manly and stuff. And now the changing stereotype of a man is somebody who's like in touch with their feelings, is empathetic, cares, etc., etc. So, I mean, I used to live that life, bro. I used to live that life. We had 9 restaurants at one stage, 300 people under us. I used to not be able to sleep at night.
I was going to say, how did you sleep?
With the anxiety. Like, my day was just spent fighting, bro. And I literally, I mean, part of that is what led to the breakup of like my relationship is I just wasn't engaged with my life.
You weren't present.
Because I wasn't present, because I was so worried about this, and this. And then I realized like, actually, your mind needs a break just like your body does. You need to take time out. You need to put effort into like the things and the people that matter. And you will, I mean, you'll figure it out eventually, but it's not stress. It's not things that make you feel stressed. It's not situations that make you feel stressed. Yes, like we may feel we need to do them for work or whatever, but like when you get out of that situation, you suddenly realize how bad it is for you. And I mean, that was true for me. It took COVID for me and like my businesses to shut down to realize how bad that situation was.
That lifestyle is.
That lifestyle, yeah.
Yeah. Just to go back to the COVID part, and I do want to touch on this, and I'm sure people that are going to listen to this podcast and the people that have run Comrades are going to go, what? Did I hear that right? Did he run 90 kilometers in a 15-meter passage? Just take us through that process. Were you so bored? Okay, like we all did stuff during COVID. I did whiskey shots with raw eggs during COVID. I didn't run, I ran around my garden, not 90 kilometers, but in a 15-meter passage, I've run Comrades 3 times. Okay, I'm going for my 4th.
Yeah.
It is hard. It is hard to run from Pietermaritzburg to Durban or Durban to Pietermaritzburg. It is fuck hard, actually. Okay. And to do it in the cutoff time of 12 hours is even fucking harder.
Yeah.
You did it in 11 hours?
Yeah, 11 hours with a few stops.
Okay.
And to answer your question, I was bored. You know, like, I got ADHD, you got ADHD. You know, like,
look at my foot.
Like, sitting in the same place can drive you mental. But it was for the staff, like, because, you know, I'm talking about sort of dealing with people and stuff. I was getting phone calls every day in COVID. My kids hasn't eaten in like a week. I don't have this. I've been kicked out of my home. TERS was like nowhere for these oaks. And so I wanted to do something that I could do for our staff. And I read about some other guy who had done some run in like America on his balcony or something like that.
I think it was China, yes.
Or something like that. Yeah. So
I remember that.
Yeah. So I had this passageway. It was actually 2 passageways because it was a double-story house. So like to change it up, I'd run the passageway, run down the steps, run the passageway.
So you
run
did some
back.
stairs
I did
too.
some stairs.
Wow, so there was elevation.
Yeah, but after about 15 Ks with the steps, I was like, I will not be able to do this all day. But yeah, I mean, it was a fun day out. Like it was a change of scenery.
Did you start
for
the
time.
Garmin?
I started the Garmin. I did it in patches. I remember I got up at like 5 a.m. No. Sorry, I got up at 5, but was too nervous to run. So I think I started at like 8 or 9, and then ran through until like 7 o'clock that evening. And it was cool. Like you say, we managed to raise some funds for them. The sad thing is, like, still, like you can't please everyone. Not everyone was happy with the amount of cash they got, but it was like a great thing for some of the staff, and a lot of them were thankful for it. And I mean, that's what we can do. Eh?
And then you went and broke some records, running 21 kilometers, 21.2 kilometers, in consecutive days, 155 at that stage?
134. Yeah.
134 consecutive days.
Yeah.
And broke the world record.
Yeah, which I held for about 9 days.
Yeah. So I've done my research on that world record, just so that you know, it gets broken quite often. It looks like the half marathon consecutive day world record is the thing to go break.
What's it sitting on now?
I think it's sitting on 155 now. And there's now as we speak, there's a lady trying to break that.
Yeah.
She might have already broken it if she did carry on. I'm not too sure where she was from, but she was in the process of breaking it.
Yeah. So I mean, that was cool. Like, the whole vibe of it was actually to try and promote South African tourism. I tried to speak to Tourism SA as well, but they just like weren't interested. So the idea was to showcase how awesome our country is locally, because like everyone did sort of band together in COVID and bring gees and all of that type of stuff. So the idea was to try and showcase South African tourism, break this world record, raise some money for like mental health. And it was an epic journey. I mean, it was 4 months around the coastline of South Africa, places like you've never seen, probably never will see unless you know about them specifically. Met awesome people, raised money, and just had like a jewel doing it.
And I'm thinking back now, I remember I just joined Pirates Running Club. And I think it was a month to go before you set off on this journey. And we never knew each other then. And I joined Pirates Running Club, and they started talking about this guy called Henry that's doing this amazing journey, that's going to go break records and run across the country on the shoreline. And I was thinking, who's this? I mean, and I was a newish runner then.
And then you quit Pirates before I started.
You think you know everything. You think you know everything about running. And you think, who's this? But Pirates got behind you as a running club. I remember thinking to myself, how is this place supporting this guy and getting behind him and getting people out there to support you? It was amazing.
Bro, Pirates were so sick. Like, when I started running, I used to run alone because I hated the idea of like running with people. So I'd put my earphones in, and then they came to me and they're like, please join the running club. And I was like, oh, what on earth? Sounds like such a pain.
I've got to talk to people.
Yeah. It's like my worst nightmare, speaking to people on a run. Yes. And you're running and you're out of breath, and then people are like chatting and going, oh, no. But they really, I mean, they got behind me in a big way. Pirates themselves raised almost 300 grand for me.
Wow.
Like, just getting behind me. And they did a thing with the club where for every day I ran, a club member would run a 21 on that day with me.
That is
solidarity
awesome.
with me.
That is
And then
awesome.
they like posted to the group. And like so many.
And you never felt alone.
Never felt alone. It was so nice. Like, every night when I'd come back, or every day, a pirate would have uploaded their like Strava run for the day on. And they were behind me, and they punted it, and I mean, they were just brilliant. So like, I'm forever indebted to Pirates for that.
And then, Henry, just before we get back onto the ins and outs of mental health, there was one other thing I've picked up doing some research on you, which, I mean, I spent a whole a week with you last year, and you never even mentioned this to me on our Mad to Run journey, running to Cape Town. And you never even mentioned this to me. barefoot running to raise money to buy school shoes for kids.
Oh, the
Please-
Standard Bank one.
Please tell me about that. You ran on the gravel, on the rocks, barefoot. And I know you as a person that always wants to be barefoot. I'm surprised he's got shoes on today.
So I did it. Standard Bank sponsored me. They gave me $100,000 for mental health when I got back into Joburg. They just phoned me out.
Well
of the
done,
blue.
Standard Bank.
Yeah. They just
I
phoned me
bank
out.
with you.
They just phoned me
I'm
out.
proud to be a bank in
They
a
were
Standard
awesome,
Bank.
man. They were flipping awesome. They just put $100,000 in, and they were like, "This is for mental health," and I just had to do like a small video for them. And then for a while, I became like a bit of an ambassador for them. Then I didn't do anything cool for a while, so then I got dropped. But like that barefoot running, we were actually going to do a campaign from Baitbridge to Bloberg, running barefoot to try and raise funds. I can't remember who did it. I think it's the same guys who do Fellies. They make these like single tire shoes. They flipping awesome. So one of the things is like for kids, right? Obviously, as kids grow, their feet grow quickly. So like a 7-year-old can run through a pair of shoes in a year. Or
I've got a
less.
5-year-old. I
So-
buy him a pair of Nikes or Pumas, and he wears them for a month.
Yeah, and then he grows. So like they did this incredible shoe that's made out of tires, old tires,
Wow.
but it can adjust. So like as the kid's foot grows, it can adjust from size like 4 up to size 10.
And the cost of that shoe?
The cost of the shoe was like minimal. It was like 50 Rand a pair of shoes or something like that to make.
Wow.
And the whole idea was that these kids walk, and we're talking about my 21Ks every day. Like these kids walk 10Ks to school, 10Ks back from school every day. I mean, they're doing a 21K every day for education on no food with no shoes. And like this was just meant to make their trip. It's a huge initiative. And I mean, if you just go and read about it on like Standard Bank's website or something, you'll see what like a problem is and how something as minuscule as like giving them a pair of shoes can dramatically alter their lives. It's pretty
Amazing.
impressive. Yeah.
That's amazing. Were you part of the handout of these shoes to these kids?
I wasn't part of the handout.
Okay, so you couldn't see their faces.
Yeah. No, I'd love to like, unfortunately that campaign that I wanted to do, the Bloberg to Baitbridge was like, didn't go ahead for logistical reasons. But actually now that you mention it, it's something I would be keen to do because I'm getting back and we'll get onto like the mental side of things. Like my mind after that run took a while to get back to a space where I feel like I can go on some big adventure again, because it takes a lot of you.
No, for sure. And and I don't think it actually just even takes a lot out of you. It's the accomplishment of it. It's so big at that stage that once it's done, it's like, where am I now?
Yeah.
I've accomplished this. What now? Well, I've got to go bigger.
Yeah.
I've got to do something that's bigger and better. Otherwise, it's not going to make the news headlines, or it's not going to get Standard Bank to give me 100,000 Rand. So you've accomplished this big thing. Now all of a sudden it's done. It's ticked off. What now?
Yeah.
And then you sit back on your couch and you go, how do I do the next step?
Yeah, you're 100% right. And like I'm an introvert, so I hate going out and like putting myself out there. But you're exactly right about that. And then the worst for me was the questions. Everyone would be like, "What's your next thing?" And I'd be like,
I don't know.
I don't have a next thing. Like I actually did it because I wanted to just get my mind right. I was in a bad space. Like I thought running would clear my mind. It did. It was great because it was something like all you had to do every day was wake up, run. It simplified your life, right? So I didn't have anything complicated or complex to do. I literally had to wake up, eat, run, sleep, maybe do a bit of like Instagramming or whatever. And that became my life for 4 months. And you realize how nice a simple life can actually be. Cool, I was doing it for a purpose, but like I just wanted something. Then you come back and everyone's like, oh, that was so sick. Like, what are you doing next? You got to do this. And I was like, bro, I just actually want to go back to
normal life.
Yeah. And that actually made me not like running for a while, because everywhere I'd go for a while after that, people be like, "Oh, you're the runner," and I'd be like, "No, I'm Henry." Like, I enjoy running, but like that's not how I define myself, and that's not like my personality.
For sure, there's a lot more to me than
there's
running.
A lot more than to me. And then everyone be like, "Cool, what's your next thing for mental health?" And I'd be like, "So much pressure, bro," and I don't deal with pressure, like that type of pressure, well. So I just withdrew completely. I was like, "Cool, I'm done."
And that actually brings me to my next question for you. And I know you would have felt these feelings during your breakup with your ex-fiance, is depression. And depression in a man. Because I feel that people don't think men can be depressed or should be depressed or allowed to be depressed. It's this thing out there that a man should not be sad. A man should not have those type of feelings. He should be strong. How did you deal with your depression as a man?
So I've figured it out a bit better now. I used to so part of my training with my psychologist was cognitive behavioral therapy, right? Which teaches you
So can you explain that?
So it teaches you your triggers, and it like makes you aware of them. And then it gives you like coping mechanisms when you start to struggle, right?
Okay.
So let's say you struggle with depression and you drink a lot, right? And you're always depressed when you drink, for instance. It starts to teach you like, cool, drinking is your trigger. Like, so don't put yourself in situations where you drink, or be aware that when you're drinking, just don't drink as much, etc., etc. Whereas before, you don't really correlate the two. You know, you have a big night out and you just wake up the next day and you feel like, fuck, and you feel depressed or whatever. So like, I know what my triggers are, and I know like the situations that make me depressed, but now I also know how to like bring myself out. So my new girlfriend, Sam, you've met her, like she knows now. If I've struggled with depression, I just literally said to her, I was like, listen, I'm struggling with depression. I just need time, because I know like within 2 days, I can like pull myself out of it. But I know if somebody sits on me and is like, what can I do to make you feel better? Then I just get more anxious because I can feel that I'm letting the person down. So I just said, I need my space for 2 days and like go. But like, the depression is like, it's hectic when it hits. It's so weird to think, because some people don't get depression or anxiety. I don't know how people live like that. It must be so nice to like not have.
I don't believe there's a person that doesn't get depression or anxiety.
Yeah, well, look, I mean, I'd like to believe.
I will find a way to show you that you've got that in your life.
Yeah. So I mean, when it sits, like you know what anxiety feels like. It just feels like a weight. It's on your chest. With depression, and like some people obviously don't struggle with it. Like you struggle to. I have days where I don't have them much anymore, but like I used to have days where I struggled to get out of bed. I did not want to speak to anyone. I would turn my phone off. Like you just want to sleep because you're exhausted, because your mind is just going like nuts. It's horrible. And it's not a way to live life. And lots of people do, and lots of men do, eh? Like, and they just don't even think about it. They think they've just got to get up and cope. And that's a truth that we need to like turn around, because I say truth in inverted commas, because like that's not normal, and that's not what people should be dealing with.
And yes, like you say, he doesn't want to get out of bed. He doesn't want to talk to someone. He doesn't want to show that he's depressed. When he does get out of bed, he's hiding it. The man, hypothetically, yeah. And yes, it's probably the same for women too, but it's almost like women are allowed to feel that way. The men aren't allowed to feel that way. What is the next step for a man to overcome that? And yes, it's easy for me and you to sit here right now and say, just do it. Just get out of bed. Read that book. Watch the motivational video. But when you're in that situation, things seem like it's over. We're done. Whatever's brought you to that, if it's a relationship, if it's losing your job, if it's money, then going to go see a psychologist or a psychiatrist also costs money. What happens if I don't have that money to go see someone? I've lost my medical aid because I can't afford to pay the monthly premiums. What do I do?
Yeah.
Where do I go?
Yeah. Well, I mean, you're not wrong at all. So a couple of things. Like one is obviously SADAG that you can go to. I mean, they are a toll-free service.
I was going to ask, is their call center operational, Henry, as far as you know?
Call center is fully operational, 24 hours a day, absolutely free. Funnily enough, they used to charge because it used to be a phone-in service. So they actually got a toll-free number because exactly what we were talking about earlier. They realized that majority of people were dealing with like financial issues, right? And they couldn't afford to phone in. So most people were committing suicide because they couldn't get hold of SADAG because they couldn't afford to. So then they made it a toll-free
We'll
hotline.
post those numbers on the comment sections and Instagram, everything. I don't want to switch my phone on now to get the number,
Sure.
but we will post those numbers.
I think it's 0800 567 567.
Okay, there we go. And it's easy. Say that again.
Yeah, 0800 567 567. I'm pretty sure it's that.
Perfect. That's SADAG.
SADAG, yeah. But you're 100% right about who do you speak to and that, because it's tough to chat to your friends. I think it's becoming like more socially acceptable now, especially for like guys. It is important to like check in on your mates, and it's also important to, and we're going to talk about like validating feelings and stuff. Like if your mate says he's not okay, like you say it's okay. Because like how many times have you said to your mates like, I don't want to drink or I don't want to do this, and your mates are like, bro, you're being boring.
Just have one more.
Just have one.
Just have one.
Yeah.
Just have one.
And
like, just one tequila.
Yeah. And I think it's like super important that we understand that when somebody says they don't want something, like shouldn't force it. And we've all got a rubber arm. I still have a rubber arm, you know. But now I've learned like to be more secure in myself. And when I say like, no, I'm not keen, you know, nothing will change that.
And alcohol is a natural depressant.
Above
that. If we're talking depression, we should not be drinking if we're feeling depressed.
Yeah.
Because alcohol is a natural depression. It's going to hit you day 3, day 4, and you're going to be even more depressed than what you were before you drank. And I know for an hour or two, once you're drunk, it feels okay. It feels like the problems are gone. But I promise you, I'm talking from experience. When you wake up, that problem is worse.
Yeah. And on the flip side of that, exercise is like the opposite of a depressant. It's good for you. It releases endorphins, like getting outside, getting sunshine, getting fresh air. That's like a good thing. So, I mean, we're not here to say, cool, you must switch one for the other, but it's just about finding balance. Because a lot of people, when they
80-20.
Yeah.
The 80-20 rule.
100%. When a lot of people, when they're struggling, they go straight to like booze because you're right. Yeah. It's a quick fix.
Yeah.
You have a couple of drinks when you've had a stressful day, you're on it, like the stress melts away, but it doesn't go away. It just comes back and hits you harder the next day. So it's just about having exactly what you talked about earlier, like those support groups where people encourage you, they understand where you're at, you feel safe speaking to them about that type of stuff. And they're the type of friends who will encourage the good behavior and discourage the bad behavior.
So just on that note, and I just want to listen to those. We talk from experience. We are not educated psychologists or anything like that. So what we're talking about is our experiences. And when it comes to choosing those friends that promote the good behavior and not the bad behavior, sometimes when you're battling with mental health, you actually got to just also switch off from those bad friends. We all know who those bad friends are. And you got to walk away from them. Because if they're giving you tequila and it's causing your depression is worse, or if you got an addiction problem, alcohol, drugs, whatever it is, and your friend that you're seeing all the time on a Wednesday is giving you a bag of cocaine.
What kind of Wednesday nights were you having?
You'll be surprised. I'll raise the hair, the hair on your back.
A Wednesday night, jeepers.
And that's what's happening. So you got to walk away from those friends to become mentally healthy again and actually write them off and find new friends. Now, I know the question is, how do you find new friends? Exercise, like you said.
Yeah, I think you're spot on. Like, a good gauge of a true friend is somebody who supports you, not somebody who brings you down. Like your true friends should want you to win, and you should want your friends to win, right? So if like negative behavior, if a friend is trying to perpetuate negative behavior, like they're not a good friend. It's happened with a lot of guy mates of mine, right? They want to stop drinking. Like a lot of their good mates are like, bro, you've become so boring. What? Like, that is such a cuck thing to say to your mate who's trying to like better their lives. Yes, it might be a bit different, but like, I think you need to look at yourself and be like, actually, am I the boring one because I've got to drink or I've got to do this to like bring my personality out? I'm not saying don't go out and have fun, but like if your friend wants to do something, you should encourage them in any way possible. As long as it's like good. I mean, if your friend's like, let's go on a drug binge because it's good for me, you need to be like, no, thank you, sir.
Yeah.
But,
and especially if you come from that, if you want to change, make that change.
Yeah.
And making that change is by saying no and then helping that friend. If you think he's a true friend, help him as well.
Yeah.
Like you're helping yourself.
Yeah. And like you say, like when you start new behaviors, like exercising or you'll meet like-minded people who want to do the exact same thing. You know, you're talking like CrossFit, your high roxes, all that type of stuff. Those communities are exceptionally encouraging communities because they're all going for the same goal.
I'm smiling because I was driving on the highway the other day and I saw this sign. And no offense, Virgin Active, you're amazing. What Virgin Active does is amazing for people. Discovery, Virgin Active, you give cheap gym, you get people in the gym. But they had the sign, Virgin Active had the sign, leave the cult, join the club. Now, we all know CrossFit was known as this cult. People would make jokes about it. I was one of those people who would make jokes about CrossFit as a runner. I then joined a CrossFit gym in Honeydew here called BST. They've also got a High Rocks gym now. And I started gymming there and started meeting people. And it actually changed my life. Before that, I was going out on a Wednesday night, drinking, doing whatever the hell I do. I would have the hangover on a Monday night. I would go out and have a hangover on a Tuesday and go and work. Not really work, but you know how it goes. And then I started meeting like-minded people at CrossFit. It is not a cult. Virgin Active, it is not a cult. It is a community and it's saving people's lives. High Rocks is saving people's lives right now. High Rocks has made it easy for people to do an exercise. Paddle has made it easy for people to play a form of tennis that includes the whole family or includes the friends and does exercise. They're saving people's lives. These communities are saving people's lives. The lady inside the CrossFit gym next to you, the overweight lady, is probably battling depression, but she's there. She's making it happen. Yeah. The ripped guy on the left-hand side probably doesn't have many friends, but he's there. And you meet the like-minded people and you become friends with them. And they help you through these mental health journeys, not even knowing that they're helping you, because you don't have to go talk about it inside the gym. Yesterday was a great example. I had a bad day yesterday. Some things happened. I got told some things. A lot of money needs to be spent on a certain vehicle of mine because of oil sludge on the engine, etc. And it brought me down. I got home at about 4:30. The kids are on holidays. I've got 3 amazing kids, but they were stuck in the house for the day. So they started driving me crazy. So mentally, I was having a bad day yesterday. And my wife is also Samantha, just by the way, just so you don't get confused between mine and Henry Sam's. And Samantha came home and she's like, you will come with me to CrossFit. I just ran Irene Ultra on Sunday. Last Sunday, 48 kilometers. So my legs are still fresh. My legs are still broken. They were broken last night. And I looked at this workout and I was like, I don't want to go to CrossFit. She's like, you come into CrossFit. Let me tell you something. An hour later after doing CrossFit,
you feel good.
I felt amazing.
Yeah.
It didn't feel like I had those problems. Runner's high, gymmer's high, whatever they call it, is a thing. I've read in an article, I don't know if you've seen this, Henry, where if you run for an hour or longer, the same endorphins that get released in the brain is the same endorphins that cocaine releases in the brain.
Yeah.
I mean, exercise, how has exercise helped you?
Exercise helped me in like a massive way. I don't do it enough. And that's like my own mental block that I've got to sort of like overcome. But bro, like if I go a week without exercise, I get cranky because like it's good for your body. You feel better after doing it. You feel like you're doing your body a service. You feel like you're doing your mind a service. Like it's so easy to sit down in front of the TV and like lounge for an hour. But like you've got to force yourself to go out. But the rewards of getting out are like insurmountable compared to anything else.
The body leads the mind.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah. And the thing is, I think so many people are scared of it. Like this is my problem. When I ran this 4-month thing, I got to be such a good runner. Okay. Like I was running like a 1:30 half marathon. Okay. Then I stopped running. Now when I start again, I want to be like
a 1:30 half marathon.
Back where I was. But I'm not, because I haven't run properly in like a year and a half. And so I've got this big mental block where I'm like, I was here, should be back there, but I'm not. And that's my big like pitfall for myself, is because like it's a stage thing. So I think so many people are so scared of getting out there because they're scared of putting themselves out there, or they can't run at 21. But actually that's where those like couch to 5Ks are great programs for people. And those like we'd recommend, because they take you through like the small steps to getting there. Because it is like, there's a guy I follow on Instagram called Nick Bester. I don't know if you know him. He's a South African oak. But like,
he used to be I think he won Comrades, actually.
No, I don't. Well, he's
not the same Nick.
He just ran a 2:19 marathon. Okay.
An oldish gentleman.
No, he's our age.
Oh,
he's
okay.
like our age. Yeah.
Or am I young?
Yeah. And he started his first run. He ran his first 5K in like 26 minutes, and he ran a 2:19. Like 6 years later, he ran a 2:19 Berlin marathon.
Wow.
Okay. And all he says is it's just showing up every day. It's not something that happens overnight. It's just consistency. And like persistence. And that's it. And that's the same thing with like the exercise and stuff. You don't have to go out there and achieve this milestone. And this was what my psychologist told me as well. She's like, you don't need to go out there and like do 133 half marathons. Okay. She was impressed with it, but she's like, you don't need to set yourself that goal. Like just set yourself the goal of running 3Ks every day, 5Ks every day. Have you read Atomic Habits?
Not yet, no.
Okay,
I'll make a note of that.
So you must read Atomic Habits. And all it talks about is habit building, right? Because we're talking about like overcoming obstacles and like mental health and stuff. So Atomic Habits just talks about small steps incrementally becoming these like big habits over time. And what he talks about is like, cool, even if you're struggling with getting out to go run, for instance, put on your running clothes. He's like, even if you don't run, put on your running clothes. Because every day, if you put on your running clothes, eventually you'll be like, okay, well, I'm dressed now. Like, let me go. And even if all you do is walk out and walk around the block and like go from there, you start building these habits like over time. You said it earlier when we were talking off camera, 3 weeks, right?
Yes. Takes 3 weeks to build a habit.
Takes 3 weeks to build a habit. And that's all you need. And like, you don't need to start off with these big goals in mind. And that's always been my problem. That's my mental block.
And also, Henry, I think what a lot of people are worried about or scared of is embarrassment. Going to the CrossFit gym and they're embarrassed that they can't do a pull-up, that they can't do a push-up. And they shouldn't feel that, because it's not the case.
No, 100%.
Go there. It's you versus you. It's not you versus the guy next to you. And everyone started somewhere.
Yeah.
Same with running. Everyone started as an 8-minute or 9-minute a kilometer runner. And the persistence and the consistency got them to run faster and longer and further, and got them to a half marathon or a 10K, a 5K, then a 10K. That's also, and I noticed that's died down. Unfortunately, my run doesn't exist anymore, but parkrun was amazing for people, for mental health. Parkrun was an amazing thing for mental health.
Yeah.
People need to get back to that.
Yeah.
Parkruns are still busy, yes. But you never hear of people telling you about their parkrun time anymore because people feel it's not, a 5K is nothing. Rubbish. 5K is fucking far, guys.
Right. There's a stat like only 1% of the world population will ever run a marathon.
I've seen that stat, yeah.
Or 2% or something crazy like that.
I've seen
so
that
like,
stat.
if you don't run a marathon, you're okay. Like, even if you're running 10Ks, you're still doing more than 90% of the population or something stupid like that. Like, you don't have to, and I think sometimes this is where places like Instagram or those places do us a bit of a disservice, because all you see are these people who are like professional runners or like fitness models or
For
whatever.
sure.
But actually, the average person, just an example here, 50% of runners will finish a half marathon in 2 hours 10 or slower. So if you finish a marathon running at 6 minutes, a half marathon, 6 minutes a K, you're running in the top 50% of runners already. And like you don't hear about that. You only hear about the guys who run in like 109
No,
and
for sure.
But there's tons of people out there who are getting up every day and just running and trying to better themselves. And like, you mustn't be afraid to take that first step.
And you know, every runner or athlete that I've met, and if you're running 5Ks, you're an athlete. I don't care who says what. Yes, you get elite athletes, but you're an athlete. If you're waking up and training 3 to 4 times a week, you're an athlete.
Yeah.
No matter what you're doing, if it's CrossFit, if it's high rocks, if it's playing tennis, you're an athlete. But every athlete I've noticed that I speak to, every person who has pursued to wake up every single morning has got a story. When I started Comrades, my first Comrades in 2019, I had the best first Comrades ever. Let me tell you that. I spoke to people. I danced with the crowd, and I still did 10 hours 20. Like, you can have an amazing Comrades. Like, go out there and have fun if you ever do Comrades for the first time. But I spoke to people, and everyone had a story. They were either doing it for their dad who died from cancer, or they were doing it because they're a drug addict and alcoholic. Myself, personally, I got into running. I'm a recovering gambling addict. And I got into running. Running saved me. Running saved me. I thought about suicide many times in my life. I've bought the tablets. I got Dormicans. 5 boxes of Dormicans. And I was going to drink them. I laid them out on the bed. I've bought the tablets. I don't know if they would have done the job. I've never found out. I don't want to know. I went into recovery, and I want to let us talk about addiction a little bit. And I learned, and I know it's olden day, and I agree it is olden day, but you keep talking about the little steps. You keep mentioning, take those little steps. The 12-step program. Even just in life, you don't have to be an addict. You don't have to be an addict. Talking to someone, telling someone what you want to do. You then putting yourself accountable to someone else. Yeah. And an addict and mental health is such a dangerous place to be, because being an alcoholic, being a drug addict, being a gambling addict, even an overeater, there's something called, I don't know if you know, Overeaters Anonymous. There's something in this country called Overeaters Anonymous. The rooms are full. The rooms are full. The rooms are full of alcoholics, men and women. You need to find something. You need to channel that addiction to another place. And that place could be running.
Yeah.
And it's that small step as what you talk about. Now, my question to you is, as an addict, you're not an addict of any sort. Well, I think every human's got a form of addiction.
Yeah.
And there's that little man, I believe there's that little man that talks. And if you feed that little man enough power, if you give that little man in your mind enough power, he's going to be activated. And this is every human being. And then you're in the addict lifestyle. If it's a cell phone, and I don't like the word addict, actually. I don't like that word. We should stop using that word. Actually, I've used that word too much. I do apologize. Because it's human nature.
Yeah.
We're human beings. We're not robots. We're human beings. We are humans. And humans look for something better all the time. If it is alcohol, if it's business, you can be addicted to money.
Yeah.
You as a business person, you as a business person can be addicted to business, which owning 9 restaurants, as you said in the beginning of the pod, owning 9 restaurants called problem in your relationship. That was an addiction.
Yeah.
A form of an addiction.
Yeah, my problem is I've got a very addictive personality. I can stop things. Like I'm very lucky in that it doesn't take a lot for me to stop things, and I can stick with them. But I got a very addictive personality, so I'm aware of that, and like I won't go towards certain things because I know that I will overdo it.
How do you become aware of your addictive personality? That's a very good question.
I've done so much work. It was like all with a psychologist.
Do you journal, Henry?
I don't journal. My psychologist will hate me for saying that.
Because I believe journaling is amazing.
Journaling,
and I've tried it.
You know what? I'm not going to say, like, because everyone's got their own way of dealing with things in a correct manner, if that makes sense. So, like, I won't journal because I know I won't stick to journaling. Because
it's hard.
Because it's
difficult.
Hard. Yeah.
I've tried.
Yeah.
I tried in December. I think my last date is January the 5th in my journal. I saw it this morning on my desk before I left to come to the pod. And I saw my journal. I'm like, I need to journal again.
Yeah.
And bad things, good things, whatever it is.
So I do all of that stuff. I do that all up here. So, like, I now process a lot upstairs, but I make sure that I make time. So it's like meditation, a form of meditation, I suppose. I make sure that I spend at least an hour alone every day, like just thinking. I don't want to be bothered from outside, etc., etc. So that took a lot of reflection from my psychologist, learning about myself, because I kind of went to a psychologist first up and I was like, okay, this is my problem. I need a solution. And she's like, I don't give solutions. I give you the tools to figure out the solution yourself.
And that's the same with addiction in the 12-step program.
So there is no solution to your problem. There's just ways of dealing and approaching it and figuring it out for yourself. And when I learned that, then I started like realizing like, oh, okay, actually, this is bad behavior and this is what leads to that bad behavior and da-da-da. And I'm still not perfect. This is 5 years later. I mean, I still go out and have like a bender night every now and then, and it makes Sam super unhappy and like, cool. I get like way too drunk and I'm 38 and I probably shouldn't because I'm like an adult or whatever. But I used to do that every weekend. Now I do it once every like 3 months. Cool. I'm not perfect, but I'm working on myself to like get there and be a better person for Sam, who I care about and whose opinions I care about and I should care about. Whereas before I was quite selfish. I'd be like, well, I don't care what your opinion is. I'm doing what I want to do. But actually, as you grow older, you learn like you just want peace and you want the right people in your life. It's not about knowing everyone doing this. You just want the good people who bring you peace. And like that's what I'm looking for now. And that's who I like associate with. Well, that's the things I do and I associate with. Cool, I like DJ. But I'm not going to go out and make DJing a career. It's just not a lifestyle choice that I would choose. It's too hectic. It's too involved with like the party scene, drinking, like drugs, all of that type of stuff. It's not conducive to like a peaceful life. Yeah, so that's what I'm working towards.
And on that note, before we end this pod, I've got a few little, let's call it trigger questions for you. Advice you will give. Question 1. Advice you will give to a man who is battling today. What should he go do? What should his first step be?
I think, man, like you say, like addiction. My first step would be like to admit that you're struggling And
not just addiction, I guess, depression.
Yeah, no, but that's what I'm saying. So with depression, like admit you're struggling with your depression, or admit you're struggling with life. Like it's okay to struggle. We all struggle. Then tell the people around you who are your support system that you're struggling. Can't tell you how many times I used to keep inside that I was struggling. Now with my Sam, we've got like such good communication. She says, "Are you okay?" I say, "No, I'm not okay." And she'll be like, "Cool. Do you want to chat about it? Do you want this?" And I'm like, "Cool. We'll chat about it." And you find that when you talk, even just talking about it, so much comes off your chest and off your shoulders. You keep it in because we're so worried that like we don't want to upset somebody, or we don't want to, make our problems somebody else's. But people are more than willing to like bear, especially the people that care about you. They're more than willing to like bear that burden.
You'll be surprised how much people actually care about you.
And 100%. And they appreciate you sharing it. And when you share the burden with people, it makes it easier on yourself. And yes, sometimes you will have to share their burden. And that's like the compromise. So that's the first thing I would say is just like be willing to admit that you're struggling. Because so many people are like, "No, I'm not struggling," but you are. And the second would be just to open up and realize that everyone around you, like you say at the CrossFit, everyone around you struggles. No one has a perfect life. No one. Everyone has something that they're struggling with. And when you approach life like that, you can be like way more empathetic to everyone else's. If somebody's having a bad day or shouts at you, you know that it's not you.
It's not personal.
It's not personal. Like they're struggling. Like, cool, that doesn't make it right. But you don't have to react badly because you can be like, "Yo, actually, maybe they're having a cuck day." Like, cool, like let them cool off, let them do whatever. But you don't need to escalate the situation. So when you get that level of empathy and understanding, then you're already like starting to spread like your problem out and open up more, which is important.
I love that. Thank you. Yeah, that is awesome. Then as a business owner, I want you to reach out to other business owners. Because I think, especially men business owners, my daughter had a friend whose father shot himself, who committed suicide. And I'll never forget this. I went to the funeral with her and I sat there, and his son, 12-year-old boy, 13, 12-year-old at that stage, I don't know, stood up and looked at the people in the church, fully packed church. And he stood there and he said, "I want to reach out to all these men. Stop thinking you're so strong and speak out to people. Because if my dad spoke out, he would still be here today." So to business owners who are battling financially, who are battling to find business, especially in today's times, the economy is tough out there. In South Africa, it's tough. What's happening in this world? Things are tough, as you know. People don't have money to spend anymore. Everything is expensive. So business owners, especially men who are battling, who are afraid, and yes, speaking out is one thing, but don't give up.
Yeah. I mean, you're 100% right. It's super tough out there.
You did it once before.
Yeah.
Why can't you do it again? From the word go, from the ground. So you've now, so what I found, Henry, is you'll find a business owner out there who he started from the ground, built his business up, now he's successful, loses everything, and he can't do it again because he forgot where he was.
Yeah. Look, I mean, we've been through and still going through like some bad stuff with business. That's like a tough one because obviously a lot of people keep it separate from their personal lives, whatever. But again, it's just something from most people in business. Most people, I use this very cautiously, most are quite understanding. There are very few people who are like hard people and only care about, they just care about themselves. I've met people who just care about themselves. They're horrible. But in general, if you're open to the people you're doing business with, your suppliers, or like you're this or da-da-da, and you're struggling, most people are understanding. They want a solution, right? So I used to struggle with that. I used to just hide from people when they wanted like cash and stuff with the restaurants, our suppliers. Because like I was like, I will pay them, but
I can't pay them.
No. Yeah, or like I don't know what to say to them. But actually, all they wanted was communication. They just wanted me to be like, bro, I'll pay you this and this day. But they'd get on the phone with me. They'd be like, you need to pay me now. And because I was a people pleaser, I'd be like, okay, I'll pay you. And then I wouldn't pay them on that day. And then they get even more, and then it escalates and it blows up. Whereas actually Craig, who's my business partner, like he's like, bro, I'll get you this by this date. And they're like, cool, no problem. So yeah. Communication is key.
And there's understanding people out there because they're going through the same thing.
Yep, 100%.
And just if there's a problem, I think what you're trying to say is, well, what I hear you saying is, if there's a problem, tackle it head on. Face it. Don't procrastinate on it. And we all procrastinate on problems because we don't like dealing with problems. But let's tackle it.
Yeah.
Let's hit it head on.
Yeah.
Because then mentally it won't affect you.
Yeah. And when you deal with it, and when you deal with other people, like just remember that you find yourself in their situation. So be like understanding of their situation.
Remember what people have done for you.
Yeah.
And do for others.
Generally people don't try and screw other people over. Like in general in society, obviously you get people who do.
For sure.
But like a little understanding goes a long way.
And then the last question before we end this pod. What is one thing, Henry? You're an amazing person, salt of the earth. I don't think you said it earlier. I don't think you've got stress in your life. You hide it very well. But what is one thing regarding your mental well-being that you could change as the younger Henry and do differently? For our younger listeners out there.
Okay, this may not sit well with like every younger listener, but
okay.
I wouldn't chase money. Like, it's such a tough thing because everyone wants to...
Say that again.
Don't chase money.
Okay.
Because lots of people want to live a cool lifestyle, but actually you can live a very happy and satisfying lifestyle with very little.
I've got goosebumps. Take care.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people don't buy into that. But I chased money. I made a lot of money. I lost a lot of money. Like, the stress, the relationships, the everything that comes with it. And you always hear your folks being like, it's not about the money, like, et cetera, when they're a bit older and you're like, yeah. But as you get older, you realize like there are things more important than money. So it would be like, I'd focus more on like my health, my physical well-being, et cetera. Bro, I'd focus more on like doing things. I mean, I only started running when I was 34. I started playing like hockey when I was 27. I started doing all of these things like a bit too late in life to really like make a go of it if I wanted to. I started DJing at 36, You
could have been at Tomorrowland.
Yeah. No, but these are all things that are passions or something like you're doing for like your physical well-being or your mental well-being. Like, whereas before I just sit in like an office and graft and be at the restaurants and trying to build this empire. For what? At the end of the day, cool. We owned a sick restaurant group and like everyone loved it and everyone talked about it for 4 years. And then the next big thing came on. And then what? Then you're just a has-been.
For sure.
Right? Whereas the people that matter to you, like the people you love, the people that you're going to grow old with, they're the people you need to spend effort and time on.
And someone once told me there are 2 things guaranteed in life.
Death and taxes.
There's good and bad times.
Yeah.
Where there are good times, there are going to be bad times.
Yeah.
And when you get the bad times, embrace them because those make the good times even special.
Yeah.
It's the law. I wouldn't say it's the law of the universe that if something is going good, something has to go bad. And when something goes bad, something then has to go good again.
Yeah.
And I think that's just how we should live our lives.
Yeah.
Henry,
I agree.
Thank you for coming to the Endure Edge podcast, for spending time with me.
Anytime.
I love this.
Anytime.
You're going to be back. We spoke about it outside as maybe a future co-host, maybe even doing your own year with some people. I would love that. I would love to have you back here because there's so much we can talk about mental health. The time's just gone by. I was worried as episode 1, how are we going to kill this time, but geez, like I've got so many more questions that I haven't asked that I thought I'd prepare for. Thank you, Henry.
Yeah, anytime.
Stay the person that you are. Keep doing what you're doing for mental health. You're an amazing soul.
Oh,
and
shit.
and people love you. And you don't actually know how many people you help out there. I've seen it. How many people you actually helping out there that you don't even realize. Thank you for your service.
Well, thank you for having me. It was a lot of fun.